walking down a lonely road. I saw a house. I said to myself, Christopher, don't go in that house. But another part of me, a part of me that I think harkens back to my youth, said, Grace, go on. Go into the house. So, after a long debate, I went into the house. Well, I walked up and down the hallways, and there were many shadows, many creaking floors, and dripping pipes. I heard things that at first I thought, whoa, what the fuck is that? There's nothing on earth that could possibly explain to me the things I'm seeing. But then I calmed down a little bit. I pulled the tampon out of my vagina, and I realized that it was just the house settling, because it's an old house, and old houses are built on uneven foundations, and sometimes they settle, as in all the time. And sometimes the heat comes on and it expands the metal ductwork and it makes a lot of noise. And the heat was on in the house, I should know. I broke into that house. I found a trusty rock laying next to the sidewalk to the front porch. I wanted to knock on the door, but I didn't want to piss anybody off, so I figured I'd break in. At the least, I'd rather scare someone than anger them. So I broke the window and proceeded my entrance. Once inside the house, I couldn't really tell you. Up, down, left, right, right and wrong. I made my way to the master bedroom because I figured, hey, if there's someone lazy enough to be sleeping in this house and to have not been awakened by my violent bashing in of the downstairs window, well, they would still be asleep upstairs. I went upstairs, and what did I find? Seriously, I have no idea what the hell I found. I was very drunk at the moment. Very, very drunk. I don't remember any movement coming from that room. Now, that might have something to do with the fact that before I announced my presence, I ran into the room with a large 2x4 I'd found laying out in the grass. And I banged very hard and violently upon the bed. Well, I heard nothing and I saw nothing. Conclusion is that this house, which may have been owned by another celebrity, I don't know. I saw a lot of mustache and mustache care paraphernalia all over the house. I also saw many pipe caddies distributed throughout the many counter spaces in the many master bedrooms and bathrooms of said house. This was a palatial estate. I don't think I mentioned that before. Maybe you thought I kicked my way into a ranch one-level house that belonged to, you know, Bobby Bible Thump and Nancy Kneel and Pray, but no. This was a real house, and it was obviously owned by someone of some wealth. I found a large gun collection. Many of the bullets had been fired, some of which had not. I had a feeling, though, that if these bullets had been fired, they had perhaps been fired into someone who deserved to have bullets fired into them. I sat down at the dining room table and set up a makeshift Ouija board. I took a bar of soap and stuck 3 push pins into the bottom of it. Now, for those of you who don't know what push pins are, those are thumbtacks with handles. Those are the handled thumbtacks. So the soap was slightly higher than the board, which I made out of poster board, and I just scribbled some random thoughts down onto. Now, I asked the Ouija board, I asked, who, may I ask, inhabited this house before me? I have no right to ask this question, but I beg of you, please, humor me and answer this question. Much to my horror, my awe, surprise, and glee, the house was infested by Charles Bronson. And what I got back was a little something like this. What the fuck do you think you're doing in my house, you son of a bitch? I don't stack my guns up in the goddamn room to have some mealy-mouthed, rat-eyed son of a bitch come in and disturb them all. Now, I had quite a game going, and you ruined it. Now I'm gonna have to go and set up somewhere else. Somewhere else. I'm gonna take my mustache and go. Before I do, I'm gonna give you a little bit of that mandem. A little bit of that mandem right in the fucking face. He punched me in the face, which I took as a regular greeting. I said, hello, boom, he punched me in the face. And then the throat punch came, after which I couldn't really say much. But then he explained to me that his daughter had been brutally violated by Jeff Goldblum, who I have not worked with as far as I recall, but I understand has a distinctive voice, which I myself would like to possess one day. Now, he went into his closet and pulled out one of the biggest handguns I've ever seen, and he called it Wildy. It has interchangeable bullets. Well, that's all I needed, so I passed out calmly. Luckily, I woke up, and the horrible mustachioed poltergeist was gone, as well as were all his guns. I would have liked to have kept a couple of those, if you know what I mean. Well, you gotta understand, I get a lot of calls in the middle of the night because, based on an earlier job that I did with USA, people seem to think that I'm up all night. Which, as a matter of fact, sometimes I am not. Sometimes I'm asleep in the middle of the fucking night when people call up and want to watch Chain Glory and Jail Girls and Bikini Hotel and Panty Academy. I don't always have the access to these films, although many of them are in my private collection. So, before we go, this is Up All Night, and this is Phoenix the Warrior.
But did you ever see Charles Bronson's ghost in your house since he used to live there?
We've never had an A-list celebrity in any of our movies, or the dead remains of any A-list celebrity.
That's not what I asked. I said in your house that you live in, where Charles Bronson used to live.
You mean in my house? Oh, well, that's different. Because as a matter of fact, I'll tell you, I saw a girl who kind of resembled a very cute but feminine version of a young Charles Bronson. And I thought, wow, perhaps I will rape her. And perhaps I will take her mother and spray paint her genitals. And then I will get off on a technicality. But actually, no, I didn't. But then again, her dad was still very angry at me. And he said, you goddamn son of a bitch. I'm gonna give you a fucking reason to squint those eyes shut I'm gonna take that goddamn little ball sack of yours and I'm gonna staple it to your fucking forehead. And whatever kind of little nubbin you call a cock is gonna be wedged between that big gap in your fucking teeth. And then I'm gonna pop out Wildy, and then I'm gonna finish the fucking job. I'm gonna sprinkle on a little bit more of that mandem. You know what? All the world loves a lover, and all the world loves mandem.
Once upon a time, I was walking down the street, and I thought I saw a ghost. I walked up and I said, "What are you doing? You're so flimsy and transparent. Why don't you grab some weights? Why don't you lift them?" I said, "Lift the weight." I grabbed a needle full of steroids and I jabbed it, but it was just air. And it just squirted out the end of the needle and it just sprinkled on the sidewalk. It was wasted. That was the worst day of my life. That ghost came. And then I got the chopper and I flew off.
Yeah, what are we gonna do about it ghost? I don't know what kind of ghost you got going on here. I don't understand. What are you talking about? You talking about some kind of ghost, or are you talking about are you speaking figuratively, or are you speaking literally? I need to get my head in the game. I don't understand what you're doing here. If I'm gonna fight a ghost, I'm gonna need some kind of a proton pack or something.
Would you like to fight the ghost of Apollo?
Yeah, I happen to know for a fact that he ain't dead. I happen to know for a fact that the character Apollo Creed was killed by Avon Drago, but the fucking actor who played him ain't dead. You know what I'm saying? Carl Weathers is still alive. I saw him on Arrested Development. You know what I'm saying?